Welcome to r/entitled people, where we share stories from your lives about people who think the rules don't apply to them, and they should get what they want. Thank you, friends, for subscribing to the channel, and for so many likes. And today we have 3 great stories, so subscribe, hit the like button, and let's begin. The first story, Deceptive Dream Job, the 3-day nightmare that forced me to quit. The second story, the mother snaps and takes the child away, promising never to return. Oh God, thank you so much. The third story, from prosperity to prison, the downfall of company owners. The first story is, dream job was a bait and switch. Worked 3 days, quitting Monday. I was offered my dream job, a C-level job. The company would be considered a startup. It's been around for 5 years. During my interview, I asked about the prospects and how business was. I was told they have 10-year client contracts and are growing every month. The business is growing and is sharing space with 2 other companies, and they expect to need a new space soon too. They also offered me the job after 2 interviews, when there should have been 4. That's what was outlined. Looking back, it should have been a red flag. The offer was a small pay increase, red flag too, but I was excited for the chance to move up career-wise and fancy title. I explained I didn't have the background but was told that's fine, it's a new company, I can learn and grow with the company. I moved to the new job, and on my first day I sat in an office for almost 3 hours. The owner came in, gave me computer credentials, then left me again for another 3 hours. I went looking for something to do. I was not onboarded, no handbook or anything. When I found the owner, he told me I needed to hit the ground running. Then he called me to talk to a manager at one of the other companies for work to do. The manager gave me a list of repairs to do for his staff. Confused, I asked the owner about what I was hired for. Not this, and he joked, if you don't like it, there's the door. I assisted the other users and went back to my office. I sat at my desk. At this point, the time is around 5 p.m. The typical office hours I was told when I interviewed were 8 to 5. I checked in with the owner and asked when is quitting time. He said summer hours are 8 to 5. But this fall, we shift back to regular hours 8 to 7 p.m. and most weekends. I was a bit taken aback because that was not mentioned, and that schedule is crazy. I'm not invested in this startup, but I shook it off and went home. The second and third day were less eventful. The owner had me attend a bunch of demos. He then dropped on me that I would have to learn the product to do client installs. This was never mentioned during the interview process. My job was supposed to be a support role. When I mentioned it, I was told the support is doing installs. He told me next week I would do 2 installs with him there, and then he was going on vacation for a month, and I would have to be the one leading the installs. He also said I have to be in the office every day. The job was supposed to be hybrid remote, only come in when needed. He then dropped on me that I would have to be there physically if he wasn't, and he plans to spend more time away from the office and to expect to be in every day. On Friday, he left at 10 a.m. to run errands, and then stay at home for the day. I sat in the office and tried to learn as much as I could. I still had no intro or a map of items, so I tried to find stuff on my own, and the owner teams called me to tell me that I would have to be on call for his other 2 businesses, which I know nothing about. Which surprised were the ones sharing the same space. I objected to that, and he told me that he had outsourced support, and is canceling that at the end of the month, and I would be filling that role too. It was a cost-saving measure. There was one more call after that, and I had learned that those 10-year contracts I was told about we were already 5 years into. And the contracts that were the bread and butter, the clients opted out. I'm guessing they weren't happy. They really only have contracts with 1 to 2 years left, and need to get more companies on board and adapt our offerings. So the place is not doing well, IMO. It's been 3 days and I still haven't been onboarded. No tax stuff or anything. It was a lot to unpack, but I was basically lied to by the owner, and his answer to me pointing that out was there's the door. Edit. Update. I printed out a resignation letter to put on the owner's desk. My plan was to go in early, drop off the equipment and leave the letter before he got into the office. I also blocked the owner and the other folks there on any social platforms. I had not connected with them, but I don't want to have anything to do with them now. The owner was actually in the office having a meeting with the 2 of the office managers for the other businesses in the main lobby, kitchen area. They saw me walk by them, but they were talking, so they didn't really acknowledge me as I walked past them. I went to my office, left the equipment, took a picture of everything, then I went into the owner's office and put the paper on his chair and went to exit. This was in full view of the other 3 people. He saw me with the paper and headed into his office as he passed them, and gave them a simple morning, and I went for the exit. As he went into his office, I heard aloud, "Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me right now? I'm leaving for vacation in 4 days. 4 days, are you kidding me?" And I saw as I went out the door that he hurled his coffee cup at the wall by the garbage can, and heard a loud bang. Door slamming or keyboard tray, or possibly kick chair. I just made my way back to my car, then home. I also gave them glowing, accurate reviews on Glassdoor and Indeed. The temper tantrum really made me glad I made the decision to not give them the notice in person. What an absolute nightmare. You've literally been lured into a trap. How could you be so deceived and played with, promising a dream position and presenting a completely different reality? This is unacceptable and simply illegal. Apparently, the owner of this company treats his employees unworthily and shows absolute disrespect for your interests and your time. He is clearly not serious about the hiring process and provides very aggressive and incompetent leadership. Your decision to leave was absolutely reasonable and the right thing to do. No one should subject themselves to that kind of attitude and stress, and I'm glad you stepped up and left without allowing this mayhem to continue. I sincerely hope you find a much better job where you will be valued and respected. This experience, though tough, may have taught you a lesson and convinced you of the importance of choosing employers more carefully. Don't dwell on this bad experience. The best is ahead of you. The second story is Fit for a Fit. Intro. I have the dubious joy and pleasure of working at a franchise location of an after-school tutoring program. So instead of dealing with your usual run of platinum level ranking, I'm a VIP snowflake. I've got kids ranging from preschool to grade 12, usually with a myriad of developmental, learning, and behavioral challenges. And there, how dare you treat my kids this way? I pay you to babysit my kids and make them all better parents. The center is open concept. Think one-room schoolhouses and you'll have roughly the right idea of how we operate. We had 2 kids register in December of 2017. We'll call one Miss Attitude and the other Tantrum Kid. Mom always comes in dressed in business formal. Dad looks like a blue-collar worker. First class. Tantrum Kid throws a tantrum. I don't mean throwing himself on the floor and crying. I mean glaring angrily at everyone and stomping around. When we dismissed him early so that he can finish up at home, he proceeded to destroy his worksheets and file folder. We escorted him outside of the center. He proceeded to curse up a storm while kicking our front door and punching the outside walls. At front desk, I had a dozen of concerned parents trying to calm the kid down outside and notify me inside. For liability reasons, I'm not allowed near him. Parents were called in and center director wanted the kid removed from the program. Both parents apologized profusely and begged to stay in the program. Director relented. Over the past few months, we've been dealing with outbursts from Tantrum Kid every 3 to 4 weeks, while Miss Attitude refuses to complete homework, or will hand in homework with random answers or nonsense scribbled in as answers. Every time Tantrum Kid starts to destroy center property, parents get called in. Every time they ask us to keep him, apologetic to me at front desk and to the center director. Each time I need to keep kids who have finished their lessons inside the classroom until their parents arrive to escort them past Tantrum Kid. Each time I have a dozen parents raising their concerns, and I have to smooth their ruffled feathers and look like I both care and am doing something while not being allowed near the kid. Last Monday, while a coworker and I were preparing the students' work, we remarked that Tantrum Kid is due for another fit, as it had been a few weeks. If only we knew what we were in for. Miss Attitude comes in first, glowering. She picks up her file and stalks to her desk. Nothing surprising. She usually gives us attitude, but not much more. Tantrum Kid walks in through the door, wiping angry tears from his eyes. Uh-oh. I alert the center director and my coworker so we can all keep a close eye on him. Goal: get him in and out as quickly as possible. Student finished assigned classwork. Grader grades it, giving him answers for any mistakes along the way. This is not the usual practice, but this would get him out more quickly. He goes back to his desk and I notice he's scrunching up the pages of his work and glowering, muttering angrily to himself. I point it out to the center director, who wraps up his work for the day and sends him home. He leaves. Whew, right? Nope. He's kicking at the walls of our waiting room and smacking his school bag into the front door. Director escorts him outside and he starts screaming profanities again. A group of parents gather and are clamoring for my attention. It's time for me to play damage control again. Yes, I'm aware there's a student screaming outside. Yes, his parents have been contacted and are on their way. Yes, I apologize for the disturbance. We're doing what we can. I'm sorry, this has been a reoccurring issue with this student. Thank you for your patience. Parents finally arrive and we ask them to put Tantrum Kid in the car before talking with the director. This time he lays down the law. He's only permitted in class right before we close, with one teaching assistant assigned to overlook him at all times, and one parent must remain in the waiting room or in their car in the parking lot. Parents agree. Let's keep doing this then. Phone rings the next day. Hello, thank you for calling tutoring that you treat as babysitting. This is OP speaking, how can I help you? I'm Tantrum Kid's mother. His dad just told me you require him to follow these rules. You have a policy of allowing students to come to class whenever you're open, and parents of kids above 12 can come and go as they please. How dare you pick us out and give us unfair treatment? Ma'am, as the director explained to your husband yesterday, Tantrum Kid's behavior is disruptive to the classroom environment, and his violent outbursts of anger both inside and outside the classroom. I already told you that he hasn't had a problem at school for months. No complaints. Why are you making an issue out of nothing? How dare you say my son is violent? As his father saw yesterday when he picked him up, he was displaying violent behavior, creating an unsafe. How dare you? I will not tolerate this. I have heard nothing but complaints since we enrolled. No more. We're never coming back here again. Click. Never see Tantrum Kid again and have a safer environment for both the staff as well as for the kids and the other parents. Works for me. Unbelievable. How can you be so short-sighted and unhappy with the application of rules created for the safety and comfort of all children and staff? Not only is this mother ignoring her child's serious behavioral issues, but she's also accusing the center of stalking her family. It seems that she expected special treatment and benefits despite the fact that her son is being aggressive and breaking the rules that were created to keep all children safe. I'm amazed at her arrogance and unwillingness to recognize the obvious problems. The center has done everything to ensure the safety and comfort of all children and treats each case individually, but no one should suffer because of a genuine unwillingness to acknowledge problems. Hopefully, the absence of Tantrum Kid will create a calmer and safer environment for all the other children and staff, as well as more attentive and understanding parents. The third story is, company owner ended up in jail. My first after-college job had its good parts and its bad parts. I got it shortly before the 2008 housing crash, and to this day I was lucky I didn't lose my job in that market. Even better, I was paid overtime, and they didn't really limit it. At the peak, I earned roughly 50% more off of it. It took years to find a new job that paid as well, a story which would be familiar to this sub. I wasn't in a position to just quit, and the alternative was continuing to work in retail with a bachelor's. This company sold a service. This service was generally seen as immoral by everyone, including its customers who relied on it. If I told you what the service was, you would agree with me. Let's use a less disliked service full of moral management in comparison, and say that they sold cable TV. This company had more than one owner. They were generally nice people in person. My coworkers were everyday people just looking to make a living. This company did very well selling cable TV. To their credit, they paid their phone reps over market rate, though turnover was high due to the nature of the work. They were always able to fill openings because they knew pay mattered. Then the government got in the proverbial face of the business. They shut down businesses selling this service through their actions. Someone else in the industry has a documentary related to their actions selling this product, and the result to them and their family. But that's not the end of the story. The government actions were successful, and the business I worked through went through a series of increasingly sketchy partners to keep doing business, and the business failed a few months after I left it. The result is the owners were sued by several business creditors and put under personal bankruptcy by the courts. It turned out one of the owners hid assets from the courts, or tried to. They were sentenced to prison. They once lived in a $3 million home and ended up in the local detention center during COVID. As a bonus, I looked up their home, and the photos show the local sports team mascot posing in every room. More absurd than anything. Not sure it's their photos, but it showed how out of touch they were if so. To this day, what I learned working there gives me sympathy for what people who don't have money to get from day to payday goes through. It gave me more empathy than the owners of the company in the end. It's amazing how karma works in its own strange ways. The owners of this controversial company selling such a questionable product have finally come to a well-deserved finale. Their business, controversial and reckless, failed after successive questionable partner elections. And finally, justice came to them, putting them under personal bankruptcy. The owner's underhandedness and attempted concealment of assets reached them in jail, a sweet taste of justice. It's awesome. Hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Have a good day.